Look, it's my pleasure today to bring to you the NexGen story, where last Thursday the spotlight very firmly shone upon us. But the NexGen story is not an overnight success. It's been built on the past 14 years of science and commercial discipline and expertise to bring this opportunity to you today, which is really just in the first break in play of a three-period hockey game, to give it some type of context. There's been a number of discoveries in the resources sector over the course of history during very depressed commodity price environments, and it's these type of discoveries, Voisey's Bay was one of them, it's probably the most recent one, which was 23 years ago, which showed that tremendous value creation can happen irrespective of commodity prices. And NexGen story is one of those stories that only come around once in a generation. And Eric and Gwen and Tommy Humphreys, who put on today's conference, have really done a lot of work for you already, because they do sort through a lot of the nonsense and the noise in the resources sector and bring to you quality opportunities. Whatever you've paid to come here today, you should double it. You're going to thank them, not just today, but in the future. Your portfolios will thank them, and the beneficiaries of those portfolios will also thank them. And I really do think that they run the quality websites as well, with respect to disseminating information for you as investors. And not all of you have a technical bent to you, but they really do give you a real leg up in understanding the technical aspects and the value opportunities that you can accrue. NexGen Energy, it is the Basin's largest undeveloped deposit, and I mentioned earlier that this is a very special discovery, but it's in the very early stages. The disclaimer, which I encourage you all to read, it doesn't have in there that, yes, I am Australian. I should disclose that, evident by the accent. But I've been living in Canada for a very long period of time. The head office, well, the corporate head office of NexGen is located in Vancouver, and our project head office is located in Saskatchewan, which is the home of our properties. Project overview. We are located in the Athabasca Basin. Our properties are there in green. That brown line is the edge of the Athabasca Basin. We've never been interested in finding something geologically interesting. We've been purely focused on finding highly economic deposits. We're in that western section of the basin, down in the bottom left-hand corner of this slide. We have the most dominant land position in this section of the basin, and it's only 70 kilometres away from the Clough Lake mine, which operated during the 90s. It produced 62 million pounds at an average grade of 0.9% when uranium didn't reach over $16 a pound. And when you start looking at the quantification of Arrow and its size and grade, you'll clearly take away that we're well in excess of that project, which operated very, very successfully during a very low uranium price environment. Zooming in onto that middle project package, and this is our Rook 1 portfolio. You can see the edge of that Athabasca Basin sandstone. We have the Arrow discovery, which we discovered on Valentine's Day in 2014, a little over 2 years ago, just right on the inside edge of the basin. And then we also made a second discovery, which is in the very early stages of its development, called Bow, 3.7 kilometres to the northeast. And just over the other side of our boundary, Pure Point, Cameco and Areva recently announced the Spitfire discovery, which is just 40 metres off our boundary along that same Patterson corridor. Those green snakes, if you'd like to, well, I'll describe them as snakes going in the southwest northeasterly direction, are the conductor corridors in the region. And they're basically the cracks in the ground which the uranium-bearing fluids have moved and then hit the rock, which has then caused the mineralising event. We host all of the known uranium-bearing conductor corridors in the region, and we've only explored one of them, and that's the Patterson corridor with Arrow and Bow on it. We have not even really fully explored the Patterson corridor. We could be there for the next 10 years with 10 rigs to really have to do that corridor justice, and we are really just in the beginning of truly understanding the potential of our land package. So the news on just last Thursday, we announced that we have a maiden inferred 201.9 million pounds of U3O8 grading at 2.63%. It makes it the third largest deposit in the basin, full stop, behind, currently, that is, behind MacArthur River and Cigar Lake, the two operating mines in the east. The one thing about Saskatchewan is that it's got a lot of surface water, and all of those operating mines in Saskatchewan are under lakes and have surface water issues. Uniquely, Arrow does not have any. It's 100% land-based, which means CapEx, permitting and development timeline, it has huge advantages in that respect. It's also entirely hosted in the basement rock, and I'll have a slide shortly which shows just how important that is with respect to uranium extraction, which basically has a real impact on the CapEx and the OpEx of an operating mine. And it's very shallow. It starts 100 metres from surface. I'll give you the full dimension shortly, but it's very shallow as well. The maiden resource of 201.9 million pounds at 2.63% is based on only 82 holes up to the end of October 2015. So in a little over 18 months, we have generated a 201 million pound resource, which is, it's never been done before. The speed of development and the efficient cost of development is clearly on top of the standings on any measure with respect to a project of this nature. Just one other thing about the Athabasca Basin to put this into context. The world's average grade of uranium that's produced is 0.1%. The Athabasca Basin is producing at 100 times that average grade. It is just phenomenal how highly rich this ore is. And the great thing for NexGen is that we have one which doesn't exhibit the technical challenges that the three current operating mines in the Athabasca currently have. Here's a side view of the mineralisation, the various zones which are making up the Arrow discovery. It starts, as I said, 100 metres from surface, just as you get into the competent basement rock. We have a much higher grade subzone within the area of mineralisation, which is 120.5 million pounds at 13.26%. So that 100 million pounds alone, which is double what they produced at Clough Lake over the life of that mine, is effectively 132 times the world's average grade of production. That is a super mine in itself, but the global resource at Arrow at the moment is 201.9 million pounds at 2.63% globally. So we're, with 200 million pounds, we're still 26 times the world's average grade of production. So the economics of this project are clearly lending itself to being one of the most highly profitable mines, or potentially one of the most highly profitable mines on the planet. Just on the right-hand side, you can see the vertical extent, 725 metres. That's about double the height of the CN tower. So when you leave today and you look up at it, just how high that tower is, it gives you right in front of you a bit of a vertical appreciation of the area of mineralisation. And those arrows there highlight that it is completely open in every direction. And not just in every direction, but with these deposits and the way we've drilled this, because they're so incredibly high grade, they're typically very discrete and hosted in a very small volume of rock. With one example, like we have drilled this on effectively on a 50 metre centres, which is quite wide when you consider the drilling methodology for these deposits is normally on a 15 by 10 metre basis. So even though we've drilled on 50 metre centres across the area of mineralisation, we've still hit in 80 of the 82 holes. So 100% hit rate in a relatively wide spacing. And when these deposits have typically then tightened up the drill spacing, the average grade has increased considerably. I'll give you one example, MacArthur River, which is the world's best mine currently, that's in production. It was discovered on the 224th hole. Arrow was discovered on the first hole. Once they discovered on the 224th hole, they drilled 60 holes from surface. 37 of those intersected mineralisation, and they had a non-43-101 resource of 260 million pounds at 5%. Based on that, they were confident to sink an exploration shaft down to the area of mineralisation, and then they tightened up the drill spacing. And it went from 5% average grade to 15 to 20% average grade, and took the resource from 260 million pounds to 600 million pounds. So with respect to Arrow, we are now just starting the infill drilling on the zone of mineralisation. And this winter's program, where we've already released some of the radioactivity of those holes, we're waiting assays. But based on the radioactivity, it is already substantially outdated the 201.9 million pounds. We have some of the best holes on a radioactivity basis yet to come on the project. And I'm very confident, based on the radioactivity, we're going to have the best hole ever drilled in the history of exploration for a uranium project, and most resources projects worldwide. So there's a three-pronged attack here. Infill drilling, which has the potential to expand it considerably, but also looking for aerial extensions of the zone as well. And it's completely wide open. We're not closed off in any direction at all. Some facts about the sensitivity to this resource at various cutoffs. 0.25% is our baseline cutoff, which is considerably much higher than some of the other cutoffs at the current producing mines in Saskatchewan. 201.9 million pounds at 2.63%. Even when you take that cutoff to a ridiculous 10%, so minimum cutoff, which is 100 times the world's average grade of production, it's still a staggering 100.3 million pounds at just under 21%. The sensitivity analysis here shows that Arrow is completely insensitive to any measure. Try and beat it up, you can't. It's bulletproof. Where does Arrow rank amongst the other discoveries in the basin? You can see there that the two green dots were the one on the bottom part of the page. Arrow is the 201 million pounds. It overlaps with that initial discovery at MacArthur River after the 60 holes were drilled. As I discussed earlier, the infill drilling took MacArthur River substantially a lot higher to over 600 million pounds and the increase in grade. Arrow is on that same trajectory. Where it will end up, time will tell. But even if you want to take just that high-grade zone of the 120 million pounds, there Arrow's out there all on its own near Cigar Lake. And you can also see where Cigar Lake went as well. Now, this isn't just technically very impressive. I'm a chartered accountant originally, still subscribe and pay my dues. The financial efficiency of this discovery is way on top of the standings of any discovery of this nature. We've only spent just under $26.5 million, which means the cost of discovery here is around 13 cents per pound. It's absolutely astonishing, and that's the whole mantra at NexGen. We can't guarantee results, but what we can guarantee is the process by which we conduct our exploration and our operations. We've done this in an environment where we've put more than $10 in the ground for only $1 of overhead. No one competes with us on that ratio, and you're not going to see any change even with this spectacular result in our approach. We are very focused on process, because get that process right and the results will just speak for themselves and be optimised. Now, I know I'm going over time, but it's very important you understand this. This is a cross-section of the various deposits in the basin. You've got the surface water there, and the yellow sand unit is the yellow unit there is the sandstone. That's unconsolidated sand with a lot of water going through it. The crystalline basement rock is the competent rock. Now, the two mega mines in McArthur River and Cigar Lake have to deal with 400 to 500 metres of this sandstone, and it's like mining toothpaste. The Cigar Lake has to pre-fees the ore 5 years in advance before they can extract it. It's hugely expensive. They were 10 years past the commissioning date and over $2 billion over budget. We don't have any of those challenges at all. We're completely in the basement rock, and we're starting 100 metres from surface, and we have no surface water issues whatsoever. That's just I'll just speed up a bit because I can kind of feel Eric giving me the hurry up. But that's the plan view, again, all on land. One of the exciting things about Arrow is that it's basically 4 parallel shears all in a row. It's an accountant stream because one hole goes through 2 to 3 shears of mineralisation. So the level of mineralised core as a percentage of all core drilled is very high. That's just a long section, i.e. you're underground looking side on to the mineralisation. That's the high grade core zone. This is where we're showing that those purple stars are the previous pierce points into the vertical mineralisation. The pink ones are where we're starting to tighten it up and getting that increase in average grade considerably within the area of mineralisation. That's the arrow, the geophysics, that's the corridor. You can see the mineralisation there. It's a break. Those black lines are the cracks in the ground where the uranium fluids flow through and the mineralising system. We've got loads of targets to drill and we'll be doing that in the foreseeable future. Just on the timeline, going forward, this year we'll finish off our winter drilling program. We've got plenty of results coming, material results to what we already know, and then we'll be getting into the detailed feasibility studies, which would be due in 2017. We have 31 million in the treasury, and we're well financed well into 2017. Now, this is just one side issue and tells you a lot about the other aspects. It's just not about developing a world-class discovery. We have very strong First Nations programs. We have 20 to 30% of our employees at site are First Nations. Half of our employees are female, which in a non-traditional or traditionally a male-dominated industry we're very proud of. And then as a side issue, this is one I'm particularly passionate about. We foster huskies that we take from the RSPCA who basically have an opportunity to come out to site until they're permanently adopted to families. And we've currently saved 5 of them. And what ends up happening is that people at site end up adopting them themselves. But just trying to give you a feel as to who we are as well. We're not as well known because we've just really come on the spotlight recently. But our chairman, Chris McFadden, used to run Rio Tinto's uranium division. We're unique as a junior in the sense that we know where we're going. We've all had big company experience. We came back to exploration to test our abilities. We've succeeded there, and we know where we're going. So as of Thursday, we quickly became the second largest uranium company by market cap. We're still about 23 times less than Cameco. We've got one more to take over, and I think we're going to do it, and we've certainly got the capability of doing it. So thank you.